John, good morning. How you doing?
I'm doing great, thanks, DA. It's just this is a race fan, race driver, race whatever dream. Is the end of May. There's a race spectacular. It's kind of if you love racing, this is your weekend.
What is your earliest memory as an Andretti of the Indy 500?
Actually, it was really young. I just read an article where they asked my cousin Michael the same thing, and his memory is sort of mine. Is they got us these little racing uniforms, and there's a picture of my brother. I have an older brother, Mark, and then Michael, and then his younger brother, Jeff. And we're all in our racing suits, and we're standing there, thinking that we're pretty cool. And if you look actually behind us, you can see my sister, but they always crop my sister. Actually, the picture has her in it, but they always crop her out. And the Indianapolis Motor Speedway actually sells that photo in their gift shop, and that's sort of the first time we were there. But we used to hang out in ironically, the snake pit when it was a little cleaner than what it. And then they took it away, and now the snake pit has been brought back again. But it's nowhere near like it used to be at one point. They used to burn vehicles and all kinds of things down in there. Now it's much more tame, as you can imagine, in today's environment.
Obviously, you have all of the lineage. You're the nephew of Mario Andretti, and as you mentioned, kind of all these cousins and all of these family members that are involved in racing. Was it like when you were young, everybody kind of racing in the backyard or the driveway or a dirt track? I mean, I could imagine you guys in Hot Wheels. Was it all bicycles in the schoolyard? Were you guys always competing and racing against each other?
I would just say competing in general. It doesn't matter if the guys would compete, whether it was bikes or, like you said, Hot Wheels, push them around the floor or doing anything. And in sports, and then, I have sisters that I compete heavily with on, in academia and things like that. So we're a very competitive family. My kids are the same way. They're, everything is driven by competition and beating somebody. And I love that because, it's not in a world of equals. It's separating yourself from the crowd and trying to be always better. And so, it doesn't matter if it's racing or outside of racing. We don't like to lose at a game of cards, and it doesn't matter if the money's involved or not. It's just a matter of losing. So you can imagine when our family gets together, it's pretty aggressive.
I could imagine. Yeah, I could imagine. John Andretti joins us this morning here on the DA Show on CBS Sports Radio. So it's amazing because not only, obviously, have you had a career and a life in race car driving, but also you are battling colon cancer and stage 4 right now, but not currently in treatment, which I would imagine is a good thing. And the way that you were diagnosed and when you were diagnosed is not so long ago, just January of last year, 2017. How are you right now? How are you feeling right now? And where's your health at?
Well, you have all the facts right. And, yeah, it was one of those things where I should have gotten a colonoscopy when I was 50. And I was 53, and my wife was going in for her. She has to go in routinely every 3 years because of gluten is a big deal these days. But 20 years ago, nobody knew what it was, but she's allergic to it. And so I just scheduled my colonoscopy then. And they found cancer in my colon, and since then it's spread to my liver. And actually, as of right now, things are we thought were progressing well. Unfortunately, they're not, and so but we're continuing to fight, and we're going to fight till the end.
What does that take mentally for you to just focus on fighting and being as courageous as you can? How do you approach that daily?
Oh, it's tough. It's a different kind of challenge because you're fighting something that is, you can't see. You can't see your competitor. You can't intimidate your competitor. You can't outthink your competitor in so many ways. You're just trying to. In this case, you're trying to kill your competitor, and before it does you. And so it's a very, different kind of battle, but it's not also far from what we did every other day, where you look at it and you say, okay, here's the challenge, and what's the best path we're going to take to try to win. And in this case, winning is there's a big difference between winning and losing. There is, before it can be just it's a race, you ran second, and now it's there is no second place. So it catches you for sure, but that's why I'm out there really pushing people hard to get screened. And fortunately, I've had a lot of people respond, and including my little sister, who had 5 or 6 precancerous polyps at the age of 42. And so, fortunately, I think that we are making a difference, and making a difference in a big way with people going in. And I get yelled at by some men that their wife pushed them in because of me, and if he can do it, you should do it. And he's healthy, he was an athlete, and you're not, and so there's a chance you could be have an issue. So there is always an upside to it, and that is the upside. And we are very strong in our faith, and people praying for us has been a huge help for us, and turning to God. So our lives are in His hands. So we're doing all we can with what we have.
John Andretti joins us this morning here on the show. I know that we have listeners that have battled cancer or other illnesses, are battling those same things, have family members battling those same things, or have gone through this. Just as somebody I'm sure that they're listening to going, boy, he's speaking my language, what can you tell them to relate to them, how maybe is the best way you would approach it, or do approach it, or advice to those that have gone through something like this?
Well, certainly cancer is, there are different stages of cancer, as you mentioned, and certainly different levels that you're at. Some are obviously much more severe than others, and that changes the path of your life. You become in treatment all the time. You're at doctors all the time. Your life is now not your own, and it's a lot different than, people come up and they say, well, I have cancer and I made it, and stage 1, stage 2 is a whole lot different than stage 3 or 4, obviously, and so that in itself, people are trying to be encouraging. To me, I think the biggest thing is that you have to. I didn't want to tell anybody that it happened, because I didn't want people looking at me and the first thing thinking cancer, and feeling sorry for me or whatever. And the only reason I did go public was to hopefully help others. And I was kind of pushed along to do it, and I created a strategy where I said I was going to have 5 people go in, and if I can talk these 5 people of going in, they're going to be difficult ones, then I'll go public. But if I can't talk them, I can't talk people that I don't know into going in and being screened. And within 2 weeks, all 5 of them either had been screened or were scheduled. So we felt like it was important to get out there and spread the word. I think the hardest thing to do is because it does change your life, is let it change your life. Try to keep pushing along as hard as you can, and being as normal as a life as you can. And there's been days that I've been at the racetrack and actually had and getting chemo because I had to carry it with me, and I'm at the racetrack with it. So and nobody knew it. You just keep pushing along. I knew that those were going to be okay days, and the days to follow were going to be a little tougher. So I'd go off and hide in those days, and nobody would know the difference except for my family. So I think that's the big thing. Is just keep your mind healthy and keep your mind moving, and hopefully the rest of your body listens and follows.
Does it help to make it a competition? You talked about how you grew up in a competitive family, that you guys were competing against one another all the time, and you labeled cancer as your competitor, and you're trying to beat your competitor. Does it help you to frame it in sports and athletics and competition?
It does, and actually now I have my entire family and friends and fans, and it seems like everybody that's been involved in motorsports and outside of motorsports in such a big way because of social media that I have them fighting this competitor with me. They're on my team, and so to speak, and anything they can do to help, and they do help in different ways. Some of the things they say, some of the things they do, obviously, but even some of the things they can help with otherwise. And so it's not your own, and that's the other thing that hurts with cancer is that it's not your own battle, is that it spreads to everybody else and it hurts everybody else too. And that's the thing that probably is the biggest challenge for me is that if I dealt with this and it was only my own, then that's one thing. But obviously the people around me that love me, it affects them deeply. And so that hurts me a lot.
John Andretti joining us here on the show. He is advocating getting screened. And so can you tell people what they can do, how to stay aware, and how to get screened?
Absolutely. If you're 50 years or older, and the reason why that age is there is because that's set by the insurance companies. And if you're 50 or older and you have insurance, you can go and get a colonoscopy, and that is the trigger point. If you actually have a family history, you can go sooner. It's typically a 10-year gap, and so me being diagnosed at 53, my children should be able to go at 43. My kids are actually going to start at 25, and which means that if they don't have any issues, I'll be paying for it, which is fine with me. And but just having the history in our family, that's how serious it is to me now, to make sure that no one in my family that this ever attacks again, because unfortunately my wife's family, she's lost 2 brothers and a mother to this disease, and obviously I'm fighting that battle now. So I don't want to see anybody close to me, and it will hurt me deeply if they don't get screened, because the people around them that count on them are the ones that really suffer the most. And so just please go out and get screened. It's really an easy process. Don't let all this prep and all the other things that people have made fun of and all the other things. It's so easy. You're going to get out and go, that was such an easy process, and you actually get a good little sleep during it. The drug they give you puts you right under, and you come right out of it. It took me 18 minutes. My last colonoscopy, which was February, it was 18 minutes from the time they rolled me out of the room till I got dressed to walk out. And so, but I always push things hard because I want to beat the record of everything. So that's probably the record. I was pushing the doctors along.
You are a speed demon there, John Andretti, a speed demon in every way, shape, and form. Thank you so much for the touching and powerful and important story